Welcome, my name is Harold Haven Boggs, founder of Family Therapy Haven, where our mission statement is strengthening families. It is my privilege to talk to you today. This video will help you figure out whether your loved one has gone over the line with alcohol. Are you asking yourself if your loved one drinks too much? First, I want to acknowledge you for even caring enough to ask the question. That takes maturity and courage. Many people, by the time they watch this video, are this close to throwing in the towel on their marriage. I'm asking you to put any big decision on hold for a few months, please. You can always divorce later. For now, please give these concepts and ideas on this video some time to work for you. Please put the decision to divorce on hold now. Let me add another caution. If violence is happening around you or to you, please carefully get some help, get some space, and keep yourself and your kids safe. Some situations are dangerous, and separation is the only reasonable alternative for you. I'm not talking divorce. Physically violent situations necessitate forming healthy boundaries and keeping yourself and the kids safe. So here is the confidential hotline number, 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-7233. The people on those phones are excellent at helping you stay safe while you get your kids to safety. No one should live in fear of their loved ones, and that goes for men as well as women. And at the same time, let me give you a little reassurance. Many stressed relationships and strained marriages bounce back, and they become better than ever. That idea is based on solid research. There's a lot of research going on at many universities, but at the University of Washington, Drs. Julie and John Gottman have completed over 40 years of research on couples, and they have announced that over 60% of couples who have difficult situations bounce back and their marriages become better than ever. The negative situation becomes a positive growth experience. So keep a corner of your mind open to the idea that not only can things get better, but this problem can be a catalyst, making your relationship stronger than ever, a new beginning. The improvements take time and effort, yes, but it's worth the time and it's worth the effort. So let's talk about trauma and trauma healing. The new brain research is fantastic. Now that we can see the brain while it's working, we have answers to questions we've been puzzling over for decades. In the past, we used a lot of guesswork, but now we have evidence-based practices. We know what works. Thanks to thousands of brain researchers in the mental health field, and especially Dr. van der Kolk. I think his best book is called The Body Keeps the Score. It's worth a read. Now we have a whole new understanding of what you've been through, the trauma that you've experienced as the loved one of a problem drinker. The old approach was called codependency. It was not effective. Basically, it was an indictment of you. So the trauma healing approach is here to tell you that you didn't cause the problem, you can't control the problem, and you can't cure the problem. And now it's your turn for some healing. The research shows that your brain has been hijacked by all the repeated trauma. It's like you've been hit by a truck and then backed over again and again. You are not going to be indicted for caring for and loving someone with a drinking problem. That's the old codependency model. Have you been asking yourself, when is it my turn? Well, now it's your turn for some healing. Together, we're going to learn about living in the solution. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not only a family counselor, a marriage counselor, a drug counselor, a trauma counselor, but I also have had family members who drank heavily, took drugs, and had other compulsive behaviors. Plus, I drank heavily, trying to medicate my shame over being molested at ages 8, 9, 10, and 11. But when I turned 40, I quit all substances, found God, found the 12-step fellowship, and got into recovery. In recovery, our motto is we only get to keep what we give away. So my sobriety date is still December 28th, 1987, which means I work with newer people all the time. My recovery has 3 big parts. Part 1 is stopping. Total abstinence is very important in recovery. Part 2 is staying stopped. And that's 20 times as hard as stopping because of the selfishness and the pride. The best way I know of to level the pride and get some humility and to end the selfishness and get some empathy is working the 12 steps. So that's part 2. The most important part of my recovery is part 3, where I reach back and I help newer people with their recovery. And that's when my recovery really clicks in, not until. We have a motto in recovery: we only get to keep what we give away. So I'm continually working with new people. My sobriety date is still December 28th, 1987. So it's over 31 years, and that's over 11,000 days. Each day of that is a gift from God. And as a marriage counselor, I see a constant stream of people who are at their wits' end because of a loved one's drinking or drug problem or compulsive behavior or all 3. So I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope with you, and also share some real life situations. Of course, I've changed the identifying information to protect the innocent and the guilty. And I'm going to plant some healthy seeds for you to think about. In recovery, we have people who guide us through the steps called sponsors. And my sponsors, my accountability partners, have all shared very important ideas with me. But I think the most important idea of all was shared by my first sponsor, who said, "Harold, your drinking is a search for God at the wrong address." That helped me a lot. I don't know if you believe in God or not, but no conversation about alcohol, drugs, or compulsive behavior would be complete without the spiritual side. So I not only want to explore the problem with you, I want to give you solutions. At the end of this video, I have a special invitation for you. Today, we're going to lean on the AMA, the CDC, and the NIH. That's the American Medical Association, the Centers for Disease Control, and the National Institutes of Health for a scientific look at how much alcohol is too much. Keep in mind that the research shows that women are more affected than men by alcohol and most medications. So we need to keep that in mind as we discuss AUD, alcohol use disorder, and what to do about it. Quoting from the CDC website, drinking in and of itself is not bad. It's how much we're doing it and how it's affecting our lives. And I had the question, why I was drinking. I had to ask myself, was my drinking an escape from reality? Now, we all need an escape from stress, but when the escape becomes habitual, it becomes an illness. There are many healthy escapes, and recovery is all about replacing unhealthy escapes with healthy alternatives. The great psychiatrist, Dr. Scott Peck, defines mental health as commitment to reality at all cost. And the opposite is also true. Mental illness is escaping reality at all cost. But unfortunately, the escape can lead to an early death. So let's think about your loved one's choices around alcohol. An alcohol problem is a very confusing thing, not only for the drinker, but for the people that love the problem drinker. In America, 9 out of 10 people don't have a problem with alcohol. And for the people that do have a problem, the problem begins so gradually that it's very hard to detect often. And let me interject an interesting fact here. The 9 out of 10 people who don't have a problem with drinking consume about 10% of the alcohol consumed. The 1 out of 10 that do have a problem consume 9/10 of the alcohol that's consumed. That brings the problem into focus, doesn't it? So let's go to the National Institutes for Health to understand the signs and symptoms of an alcohol use disorder, AUD. That's the new phrase. As you can tell, we don't really use the word alcoholic anymore. It's been overused and it's lost its meaning. The new phrase is alcohol use disorder. I also like to use the word dependent. Has your loved one become dependent on alcohol? The NIH uses 4 signs that alcohol has become a problem. Number 1, inability to limit drinking. Number 2, continuing to drink even though there are personal problems and professional problems. Number 3, needing to drink more to get the same effect. Number 4 is wanting to drink so badly that you can't think of anything else. Let's unpack these 4 ideas and let me give you some examples from real life. So, number 1, inability to limit drinking. Are there times when your loved one has promised herself or someone she really cares about, tonight's going to be different, I'm only going to have 1 drink or 2 drinks, then I'll stop, I'll switch to water, I'll switch to soda? Does that sound familiar? Well, that's a sign that she's gone over the line. My problem was that after those 2 drinks, they reduced my inhibitions, and I decided it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a couple more, which reduced my inhibitions even more, and a couple more, and etc., etc. The vicious cycle was on. Which brings up the problem of drinking to get drunk, getting obliterated, escaping reality. Normal people do not drink to get drunk. Those are signs that they've gone over the line with alcohol. Needing alcohol every day is a sign. Binge drinking is a sign. It's not normal, it's not healthy. When one shirks their responsibilities at work or at home, that's a sign. Hangovers are a sign. When the people closest to your loved one complain about that drinking, that's a sign. Hiding one's drinking is a sign. Finding bottles all over the house, even in the yard, the toilet tank. An important sign is drinking to feel normal. Another sign is self-medicating with alcohol. These are all signs that you've gone over the line. Number 2, continuing to drink although you have personal problems or professional problems that are exacerbated by drinking. One-night stands, legal problems, DUIs, driving under the influence. Most people take a DUI as a sign from the universe that it's time to stop drinking. People with problem drinking take it as a sign that they have too much money and they're supposed to drain some of that money off with court costs, probation fees, and attorney fees. That's a sign that they've gone over the line. I have a good friend that explains to people that he's allergic to alcohol. Every time he drinks it, he breaks out in handcuffs and felonies. It's only funny when you look back on it. Other personal problems include relationship difficulties. Many of the spouses I talk to say that it feels like their spouse, their loved one, is having an affair, but it's not with a person, it's with the bottle. That's a sign that they've gone over the line. Many people drink to numb out and forget, and those two motives are murder on marriage. Also, relationships at work suffer. Is your sweetie missing a lot of work because they're calling in sick because of hangovers? Is their performance at work suffering because of hangovers and foggy thinking? Those are signs that they've gone over the line. Is their performance at work suffering at the end of the day because all they can think about is that martini they're going to have right after work? That's a sign that they've gone over the line. Your children may be trying to get your loved one's attention to say that they feel neglected because of the drinking. Or more likely than that, you're trying to get your loved one's attention to tell them that the children are feeling neglected. Actually, your children have no frame of reference to know about neglect. All they know is that there's an empty hole inside where that parent belongs. And many teenagers do report that they feel neglected because they don't get any attention from their parent who's drinking too much. It's very sad. One of the families I worked with had an emergency with the baby in the middle of the night. Dad was too drunk to function, and Mom felt neglected and abandoned. She had to handle the situation all by herself and felt emotionally neglected and as well as physically abandoned. That's a sign that you've gone over the line. Early on, did your loved one need liquid courage? Many people start drinking because they feel they can't really function in a social situation, so they use alcohol, only to find that after the problem develops, they're completely ineffective in social situations and in fact embarrass themselves. So what was an asset becomes a liability. Did I mention embarrassment? How many times have you been in a social situation and been totally embarrassed because your spouse was too drunk? That's a sign that they've gone over the line. Number 3 is needing to drink more to get the same effect. So early in a person's drinking career, they can drink a certain amount and get a buzz from it, but as the liver and the rest of the body learn to accommodate to the alcohol in the system, then it takes more alcohol to get that same buzz. It seems like we're always chasing that first high. That's a sign that we've gone over the line. Many people drink in order to help themselves sleep, but after a while, they find that the sleep level has changed and they wake up after 3 or 4 hours. They need more alcohol to go back to sleep. It's really not an effective sleep. The sleep doctors tell us that alcohol and other substances change the depth of our sleep. We're not getting that delta level, deep dreaming sleep that we need for the brain to refresh itself. Many people report that when they stop drinking, their dreams return. Very important to function properly. Delta level dream sleep, the REM sleep, is very important to have a healthy life. One of the major signs that your loved one has gone over the line with alcohol is that they can drink an enormous amount and function perfectly normal. This is a bad thing. This is not a good thing. It's a sign that they've gone over the line with alcohol. It means that the body is developing a tolerance to alcohol, and as we drink more and more, the chances of seizure increase. It's very dangerous. At that point, drinking is dangerous and stopping suddenly is dangerous. Some people who quit cold turkey have a seizure and die. I lost a patient in 2011 that way, and it was very, very sad. One trick that problem drinkers use is snorting cocaine when they're drinking. It creates the illusion that we can drink more, but it's very dangerous. Combining alcohol and cocaine can be fatal. Let's talk about liver function. The liver becomes better and better at handling the alcohol and other poisons we put in the system. But then after a while it starts to break down and we have liver failure. Number 4 is wanting to drink so badly you can't think of anything else. Many people at this stage plan their day around alcohol. They want to make sure they have alcohol. They want to make sure that they have cash for their alcohol during the day because they don't want to leave a paper trail. They're trying to hide their paper trail. So they swing by the bank or the ATM so they'll have cash, and all of that extra effort creates an emotional distance in the marriage. That's a sign that they've gone over the line with alcohol. They schedule their travels so they make sure they'll have alcohol at their destinations. Or in some cases, they plan their travels so that they have alcohol while they're traveling. And that leads to drinking and driving. It's always a sign that we've gone over the line. I talked to one man who shared with me that if his boss asked him to work overtime, at the end of the day, it threw him into a tizzy because he had been looking forward to that scotch on the rocks when he finished work, and having to wait an extra hour or two for that drink was almost more than he could bear. At the later stages of this problem, some people drink first thing in the morning. And let me tell you about the most troubled drinker I ever met. He would line up 3 glasses on the kitchen counter at bedtime and fill each one with vodka and put a straw there, so that in the morning when he woke, his shaking was so bad it was like this. He couldn't possibly hold a glass, but he had the vodka ready on the kitchen counter. He would suck down one of those glasses of vodka, and of course he would throw that up. He would come over and suck down the second glass. He would also throw that one up. But in the process of drinking and throwing up the vodka, his body had absorbed enough of it that he settled down a bit and he could keep that 3rd glass of vodka down. He told me that his life was a living hell. So how many times has your loved one gotten a head start on the party by having a few drinks before you go to the location? That's a sign that you've gone over the line. Here are some more signs. Heavy drinking gives you a big belly. The list continues. Continuing to drink, although your loved one has health problems that are exacerbated by drinking, is a sign. Continuing to drink, even though your marriage is falling apart because of drinking, is a sign. So let's review. How do I know if I have a drinking problem? 1, inability to quit drinking. 2, continuing to drink despite personal problems or professional problems. 3, needing to drink more to get the same effect. 4, wanting to drink so badly that I can't think of anything else. So if thinking about your loved one, you've answered yes to several of these questions, It's time for recovery. But there's a catch. The only person you can change is yourself. You can't change your loved one. And the hardest part of my recovery is admitting that I have a problem, that I need help. So let's face it, recovery is uncomfortable. Anything that takes effort and work is uncomfortable. And that's recovery. Look at the Olympic athletes. Yes, you married your loved one in sickness and in health. These compulsive behaviors have become a sickness, a deadly sickness. If your loved one had diabetes, you wouldn't criticize her, you wouldn't blame her. You would apply some pressure and get some help. Heavy drinking is a very similar problem, but I have a solution. Click the button below and sign up for my easy-to-understand course, 5 Powerful Tools for Dealing with a Problem Drinker. The drinker could be a spouse, a sibling, a parent, a child. We want to help you end the vicious cycle of doing the same things over and over again, even though they don't work. We will help you learn how to handle things in the healthiest possible way. You will understand when to apply pressure and when to back off. You will learn how to be the best possible help to your loved one, finding solutions instead of living in the problem. So please click the button below to learn quick, easy-to-understand guidelines for how to quit living in the past and start living in the truth. In summary, alcohol is the most dangerous drug in the world. By learning what to do and what not to do, you'll be able to move forward with confidence that you've never had before. You will be getting real, you will be taken seriously, and most important of all, you will be saving a life. Set a good, healthy example for your kids. Don't fool yourself any further. Don't fall for your loved one's tricks anymore. Learn how to respond in the most loving way, consistently. Taking this class may be the best decision you've ever made. And please click like and subscribe and make a comment and refer your friends to this resource. 5 Powerful Tools for Dealing with a Problem Drinker. You'll be glad you did. God bless you. I'll see you in class.